So the basic kit consists of the LabOps mount, the wiring harness, and the Blue Sea Systems USB. To assemble, simply remove the USB bulkhead mount from the packaging. You can leave the rubber cover on or off. I prefer it off because I don't like that extra flop on the dash. You just unthread the rear plastic nut and remove. Install it by just sliding into the hole and securing the nut on the back. And that's that. The wiring harness has two insulated spade connectors that plug into the back. There's also a very easily identifiable positive and negative on the terminals. And the way that you tap into the factory harness is using these posi taps. And to use these, you simply remove the red connector that exposes the wire. Inside here is a flattened cone of metal that attaches the wires and locks it down. And on the other side is a pin that actually pierces the insulation of the wire you're tapping, as well as a slot in the attachment. So the way this works, I'll use an example here because it's really hard to see in the car. You simply slide the wire through the gap and tighten down the centerpiece. So that will pierce this and provide a very secure connection without having to cut and splice. And then simply remove the tail cap, put the wire back through the tail cap in the right direction. Make sure the wires have good contact with that terminal piece and thread it down. And it's that simple. And you repeat for the other side for the negative wire in the truck. Okay, so all we need to do the install in the vehicle is a ratchet with a 10mm socket, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a thin flathead screwdriver. So the first thing you want to do is remove this lower section. Now these are just held in by pop clips. So I usually try to get the whole thing out at one time, but the actual individual pieces can come out as well. There, so this one came out with this center. Underneath here, there is the connection for this control system, and also this attachment clip. Let's just remove that attachment clip with the flathead screwdriver. We'll set this off to the side. So now once we're inside here, there are 4 10mm bolts. Once you have the 4 10mm bolts out, it's as simple as grabbing from the bottom and tipping up, and then pulling towards you. I like to get a microfiber cloth, lay it over the shifter, so when I lay everything down, the screen is protected. So the first thing we're going to take out is the clock. There are just 2 screws holding it together. 1, 2. And it just unclips. Now these tabs on the front of the clock actually are stabilizers for the dash mount. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to just pry these 4 clips off the back of the clock. 1, 2, 3, before. Oh, that one didn't go. There we go. And now the actual clock insides and buttons have been removed, but the piece remains. And so we're going to actually replace this. You don't have to, obviously there's nowhere to plug that in, so I just tuck it down behind. And we're going to replace this with those same screws that we took out. Now the next part we're going to remove is the actual dash plate that the mount replaces. And these are just held on with two tiny Phillips head screws. I recommend using a magnetic screwdriver if you have it, or just attach a magnet. I'm not doing that right now, so hopefully I don't lose them. And then pull the factory dash mount, the dash out. And we have our assembled LabOps Gear mount. Remember to put your wire harness behind this cross brace here, and then we're going to install it in the same place that the factory one was. Now a note, there's two tabs along the bottom here that need to be bent down just a little bit. The factory one has little locking clips, and this one just uses the front lip. So we just bend those down ever so slightly, and then align on the rear pins. So on the back here there is a screw hole. There is a screw hole and a pin hole. And this is probably the most tedious part, is making sure everything's lined up. If you're not careful, you can crack the plastic while pushing it on and having it go home. However, if you do crack the plastic on these wings, not a big deal. Actually, they don't support any weight. It's just for alignment. So if the plastic separates around at the layer line, it's not a huge deal. Replace the screws. And like I said, make sure that the your wire, your power wire, runs behind. I like to kind of tuck it down where it's going to go later anyway. We're going to pick the whole thing up. There they are. This whole thing up and get all into place. And again, it's going to be the reverse, so it's going to go in to the top. And then down at the bottom. And then it snaps together, and now you have a nice solid base. And so the dash mount actually attaches to the front sill piece and those two tabs that come out of the clock. So right now, it's very stable. The wings have nothing to do with the actual stability of the dash. Now we just reverse and put the bolts back in. And then I like to lift up on the dash a little bit while tightening these down. Okay, now we need to install the wiring harness. There's some extra wires back here. But to do that, all you do, we're going to tap into the factory 12-volt outlet with the supplied harness. And this is just two 10mm bolts again. And it just swings forward. So back here, we're going to unclip the cigarette outlet. And on this model 4Runner, there are two color wires coming out of the cigarette. The green, which is positive, and the white with a black stripe, which is negative. There's already posi taps on the end of the harness, but I'm actually going to take out the tap side so I can screw it together properly. So the way the tap works is you run the wire through the channel in the gray piece of plastic, and you thread down until it's tight on the red piece of plastic. Remove the tail cap, slide the wire back through the tail cap, insert the wire into the posi tap, and tighten down the tail cap. Repeat this for both wires. Right, now that we have the wires attached, we're going to tuck this all back behind and make sure we reconnect our cigarette outlet. And reinstall the 10mm. Now, before we go any further, it's always a good idea to turn the truck on and check to see if there's power. Green light is on. I can go ahead and reassemble the dash. Just the reverse, clip the retaining clip in, attach the plug to the control, and slide everything back in. It's going to be a little tricky, but once everything's lined up, it just snaps into place. And this guy was separate this time. Same thing. And there we go. Now all we gotta do is take one of the ram balls if you got one, or if you have your own, install it. You can tighten these down pretty hard. The plastic, the inserts are heat welded into the plastic, and attach whatever accessories you're looking for. That's it. Thanks for watching.